Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mark Loeffler Experience. We're talking about commercial mortgages today, guys. So we're not going to talk anything residential. We're talking commercial mortgages. I've had a bunch of people on some of the YouTube, well, a bunch of people on the Facebook groups that I'm in talk to me about, ask me about commercial mortgages in Canada. So if you guys are in the US, unless you want to invest in Canada, you guys might want to skip this one. Hey, sorry guys, they can't all be for both parties. So let's talk commercial mortgage. Oh, before we do, destroy the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Guys, share this with your friends. If you guys were the ones asking about this in the groups, share this with your friends. Let's grow this to 1,000 people so you see Mark doing rushing dancing by the end of July. All right? So let's talk about this. So how does commercial financing work? And why is commercial financing easier to get, in my opinion, this is all just my opinion and my experience, why is it easier to get than, say, residential financing? I say that because if I wanted to go, if I had no properties, maybe I just had my own home and I wanted to buy a rental property, could I go and if I had good income and good credit, go and buy that rental property pretty easily? Yeah. Could I buy 2? Maybe. Could I buy 3? Well, it gets harder. Could I buy 4? Well, now it's like, is that going to happen? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So if your goal is to own 10 duplexes, 20 units, it's a heck of a lot harder to get that than just going buying one 20-unit building. So when I do my my financing, I am typically going directly to the bank. Right now I do BMO and they're giving me 25% of appraised value and they do a cash flow test obviously. But I'm getting 20, after the cash flow test, sometimes it brings it down because lo and behold, Mark's buying stuff that's a little bit under rented for current values. I mean, I've talked about in other videos, I like to get my rents up a minimum 40%, but most of the buildings I'm buying are probably about I can raise my rents about 100%. So they're definitely under rented. So I'm paying a premium for them today to get the premium rent tomorrow. Financing, stick to the strip, Mark. I know a lot of you talked about when have I seen 15% down deals. So CMHC mortgage will give 85% of their appraised value or the purchase price or the appraisal of a third-party company. So you have 3 hurdles in order to step through to get 85% from CMHC. So I've had it where the appraisal came in at purchase price. Obviously, my purchase price was my purchase price. And CMHC says, well, no, our value on that building, so it's a $3 million building, our value on it based on our cash flow tests are 2.5. So we'll give you 85% of 2.5 million. So at that point, I have to either go back and say, okay, great. So 3 million, 75% gives me 2.25. 85% of 2.5 million gets me, what's that, 300, 425. So it actually gets me a little less, 2,175,000. Now I have to say, okay, well, is getting a 2% or under 2% mortgage from CMHC now worth it for me to take a little bit extra money, less money up front? And those are the things I have to determine. But so some of the questions were, where have I seen people getting 85% financing from CMHC? Well, guys, it's in the submarkets. So, I mean, you had Matt McKeever on here last Monday, and we watched him, and he's talking about, getting the 1% rule, the 10% rule. So the 1% rule is basically if you're buying a property for $100,000, you're getting $1,000 a month in rent. The 10% rule basically says if I'm buying a $100,000 property, I'm getting $10,000 a year in rent. So the 1% rule equates to 12%. So I've seen that people get 85% in Kirkland Lake, in Bracebridge, Sarnia, London, Windsor, you know, some of these sub-markets, I've seen it in Niagara Falls. I don't know if we're going to see it now. I mean, prices have gone up significantly there. Where are you not getting it? I've seen it in Kingston, in Belleville. You're not getting it in the GTA, right? So Toronto, Oshawa, Durham, it's pretty hard pressed. You might get something, probably not. Hamilton, St. Catharines, you're not doing it. Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, like we're not seeing it there. So if those are the markets you're investing in, then your guys, like I put down a minimum of 25% on all my deals. Lately with COVID and all that type of stuff, I'm not getting the same relaxed rules I was getting. So I'm probably like 30 to 35% down. You know, sometimes we can backfill those. So guys, for the property on Duke, which we close tomorrow, woohoo, close tomorrow, 5 vacant units, guys. We're gonna do a walkthrough of that early next week. You guys are gonna love it. And I'm gonna take you through and we're gonna go through the whole process on that. Yet on Duke, you know, because the rents were so low, there's 5 vacant units, like I basically got 54% from the bank. And don't tell BMO this, but we got a vendor take back for 1.5 million, and we actually, you know, we deferred that onto another property, and we can bring it back at some point because banks won't allow you to close with a second mortgage. So when you talk about VTBs and that type of thing, obviously you need other assets to be able to do that. So on your first property, it's harder. If you're doing if I was just doing private financing, they don't care about the VTB, then I'll just put it on right away. Yeah, because the banks doesn't allow us to close the same day with a vendor take back, we have to obviously structure it this way. So the guys, again, we were talking to Dan Carroll like just last week, and actually Dan Carroll, yeah, last Wednesday. So we were talking to Dan Carroll just last Wednesday, and he's talking about just going out there and doing it. I mean, I just put an offer in on a 66 unit building. I mean, 66 unit, pretty big for me. I didn't know where my financing was going to come from. I didn't know who my partner was on it. But I was like, you know what? I got time to figure it out. If I can close in 3 months, I can put that money together if it's a good enough deal. So I made the offer. I mean, Matt McKeever talks about an offer a day, offer a week, right? Like they're buying multifamily properties with a 1% rule in Sarnia, Chatham, London. They're building this out there. So you can go get those properties and put 15% down. So talking about the 66 unit, this is a little bit of a funny story is I put an offer in at $11.3 million and the vendor signed that back at $30 million, which is about $450,000 per unit, which in Hamilton is a lot of freaking money. Like there's nothing, like a brand new building wouldn't sell for $450,000 a unit in Hamilton. So I was a little aghast and I laughed it off. You know, I actually talked to Matt a bit about this, Matt McKeever, and he's like, hey, well, can you structure something with them holding financing? And I'm like, well, unless they'd have to come down a lot, and I could definitely overpay for it, just not by that much. Yet, here's the thing. I still went out and put an offer in on it because, number one, you never get what you don't ask for. Is my 11.3 million, was that probably a little bit light? 100%. Yet, I kept asking, what do you want? What's your price? They're like, well, we're accepting offers on this day. We're going to have multiples. Great. I put my offer in. There was one other offer. And I was like, you know, one other offer. I think this is good. And I just said, well, they're like, it's too low. I'm like, okay, sign it back. I didn't realize how low it was. Anyways, we're talking about commercial financing. See how easy it is for me to get sidetracked? Guys, I'm living this every day. I'm out there, I'm trading stocks, I'm getting mortgages, I'm buying properties, I'm looking for properties, I'm raising funds through joint venture partners, financing on the commercial side. Basically, why it's easier is the more property you own, the bigger your net worth, the more they like you. So we're just at the point where we're getting bumped up to a different financing group at Bank of Montreal. So when that happens, I was like, well, we're getting this from this bank. Here's their offer letter. And Bank of Montreal didn't even just match it. they beat it. Like they beat it by 0.5% interest for us. So we got 3% interest only recently on Duke. I mean, that's unbelievable. So I have 1 year, 1 year of 3% interest only on Duke, plus my second, to go out and renovate this property, which I think we're going to get 10 out of 30 units. But guys, enough of that. We're going to do another separate video on that. 22 commercial financing is, you're going to pay more, 100%. There are fees involved. So if you go through a broker, you're probably going to pay 1 to 1.5%. You go directly to the bank, it's probably 0.5%. If you own other stuff, if you don't, it's probably going to be 0.75 to 1%. Obviously, you're going to have to pay for your environmental, your appraisal, your building inspection report. So when you make that move, there's definitely more costs involved. That, like, if I don't buy a building, I might have $10,000 to $15,000 in sunk costs just in my due diligence to make sure I want to buy that property. Yet, you know, why do we do this? So on Duke, sorry Berardo if you're watching this, but I mean, we got our appraisal back. It came in lower. We were able to negotiate. Our lawyer found an issue. We were able to negotiate. So I got $160,000 off what I got accepted originally because we did our due diligence on the property. And I mean, the bank doesn't care. We have the appraisal. We have all this type of stuff. So they're lending on what their appraisal is anyway. So CMHC will lend to their appraised value. And you can still get that in tertiary markets, guys. You can get that in outside markets. It's not, you know, B+ markets like a Hamilton, St. Catharines, Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Durham. I mean, somewhere in Durham you can get it, just not in Oshawa, Ajax, Pickering, that type of thing. Downtown Toronto, no. Newmarket, Barrie. You know, Barrie, yeah, probably not in Barrie either. Although, first person I ever heard of getting the 85% mortgage from CMHC was in Barrie probably 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know if it's changed yet. It's out there, guys. This isn't a pokeroo, okay? Because this is a Canadian video, I can talk about pokeroo. I don't think guys in the States have pokeroo. Go out and make offers. That's what the conditional period's for. You can go out and get 30 business or 20 business days for conditions. Now, don't go out there and just waste people's time. If you don't know and it's your first one, you need to be lined up. I mean, like my good friend Pierre-Paul Turgeon says in his investment class, this is a small world. So if you sit there and you waste people's time, people are going to remember that. People are going to remember that, and in the future, they're going to see your name and they'll be like, meh, they wasted my time. It's a small world for the amount of agents who do deals in this market, and they're going to remember your name. I'm not talking about low balls. I'm talking about getting an accepted offer, going through a whole bunch of stuff, but not doing like, so when you tie up a property, while you do your inspection, your appraisal, and your environmental, and you're doing those quickly because you're showing the interest that you want to buy the property. And you're going and contacting your bank that you've already been in contact with for the commercial financing. So you're talking to the BMOs, the RBCs, the reps. You're saying, okay, what do you need in advance to make this happen so I can have the financing done in 20 days so you can close in three months? So there's a lot of steps along the way, yet in my mind, commercial financing, bar none, easier, and as you get more, better than residential. So it didn't affect me when I had to buy my parents a condo, when I wanted to buy a cottage. Having all these other properties didn't affect me doing that. So guys, if you like this one, let me know. Comment down below. If you've gotten an 85% CMHC mortgage, let me know down below, because I know we have a lot of skeptics out there that think it's pokeroo. If you're looking at properties, guys, I would love to chat with you, run the numbers with you. Let's put it up on the channel, get other people's comments. And guys, if you haven't, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.